Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. We turn now to the governor's races. We are blessed, thankfully, this cycle with a number of exciting candidates for gubernatorial races. And there's a few that I know we want to focus on. We agreed on the first, though, Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams is a star. She is filled with not only charisma, but knowledge, warmth. She is everything you could possibly want for a candidate, especially for Georgia. She is the right candidate for that state. And I have to tell you, that state needs a lot of help in the election world. We were focused very much on Kemp's sort of, everything that he has done throughout this election cycle to whether it be purging the rolls or, and it's, by the way, not just this election cycle. It's been for a while. Him and Karen Handel have sort of monopolized this and also revolutionized this way of voter suppression and roll purging, basically. But also, the thing that we don't talk about enough in Georgia is they still have voting machines from 2002. So I don't even have a toaster oven.
I've had some issues.
From 2002. Do you have any piece of electronics from 2002?
I can only think of one or two possessions I have from 2002.
These voting machines are so vulnerable to security breaches. And we gotta fix that. We really have to fix that. So when you look at someone like Stacey and how close she is and the potential that she may win this, I want also people to keep in mind what she's up against. Because really, if people turn out for her and she wins, it's because it was too big to rig. And that gives me so much hope. That gives me so much hope if that could happen in Georgia. And she's just spectacular. I've gotten to know her. We shot my show in Georgia last year. I go back in February for season 2. And I gotta be honest, if Kemp wins, I'm gonna have a really hard time going to Georgia and giving them this beautiful production and putting money into their economy when it is riddled with so much heartache and suppression.
Willful voter suppression. If he wins, it will be hard to come up with any reason other than the near legendary voter suppression. I think the most recent purge took out 1 in 10 eligible voters in Georgia.
It's unbelievable. So then and then you have the voting machines from 2002.
But I'm glad that you brought that up, by the way, because Brian Kemp has a new narrative, a closing narrative. Did you know that somebody tried to hack into the voter rolls? Okay, Brian Kemp, so first of all, you're saying it's the Democrats without any evidence. But if you're so concerned about possible security breaches, how about you replace the machines that are riddled with bugs and errors?
And weren't you that concerned during the John Ossoff campaign, right after, because it was proven that 2 weeks before that election that there was a security breach within the rolls. So, I mean, the opportunistic nature of how they are running that state needs to change. And I'm just so elated that it could be someone as special as Stacey. But we've got a lot of special candidates, I think.
Okay, who'd you like to turn to?
Let's talk about Ben Jealous, I think, versus Larry Hogan. This is a perfect example of progression versus regression, or hope versus fear, or opportunity versus oppression. Ben Jealous is a dynamic, smart, strong leader. He was the head of the NAACP for years, and he's young, and he is just really spectacular. And I know he's down in the polls, but we should not count him out.
Yeah, I mean, he has been doing literally everything he can to drive more turnout. He's been working relentlessly for a long time. And so we've had him on the show a couple of times. And one time was, like, there are candidates who are coasting through, like, their messages basically like, vague assertions of hope and change. But he put forward a couple months ago a comprehensive bill to deal with lead poisoning in the state. And I just love that he's not forgetting these specific issues that aren't necessarily sexy, that have fallen by the wayside in the midterms in most of these races. He's not doing that. And that's one of the reasons I respect him as much as I do.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing.
That said, as you said, it is tough. Larry Hogan, I believe, is the most popular governor in the state. So he's facing a tough challenge, but he is doing everything he can to match it.
Yeah, and I think he's running a race filled with integrity, and I'm super proud of him. I did some fundraising for him, and I'm really proud.
And thank you to Dave Chappelle for, he doesn't normally do a lot of politics stuff. He's been going to some other races now.
He's just been a constant warrior for Ben, and it's been amazing to watch. He's door knocking. Did you see that video of him door knocking but carrying the ladies the groceries up the stairs? Which I was
want Dave Chappelle to carry my groceries. That'd be awesome. No. So thanks to him for doing that as well.
For sure. Anytime a celebrity comes out like that for someone, I'm always super appreciative. And
similarly, Oprah, by the way, for Stacey Abrams.
Amazing.
Giving that speech that was exciting
so
everyone.
Powerful.
Yeah, she can deliver a speech.
Yeah, she can deliver a speech, and it was, a day when I think the closing argument of the Republican Party was very much about the fear tactic. It was that same day that racist ad came out, so we really got
the anti-Oprah one. Yeah. Have you heard that?
No, is there an anti-Oprah one too?
So there's been a series of, there was one against Andrew Gillum. Now there's one, it's impersonating Oprah using blatantly racist language, and it's just horrendous. Hopefully it's not getting any traction.
But I think it was the cop killer ad came out the same day that Oprah was in Georgia. And what a contrast, right? You have this closing argument that's all based on fear, all based on the white man's losing our power, and then this closing argument of hope and unity, and I thought it was pretty special. And then we have Andrew Gillum.
I'm not familiar with that person. Who are you talking about?
That's
one of the ones I'm most focused on, actually.
He's so amazing.
Not just because he is awesome, but he also stands against if you're ever gonna have a clone of Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis is him.
Yep.
And like with most cloning at this stage in history, when you clone something, it tends to have a lot of errors. And so he's not a good clone. He doesn't deliver the message well. But he has been so relentlessly racist from day one of the general election here.
Yeah, and I love how Andrew has sort of dealt with that. He said, I don't know if you're a racist, but the racists think you're a racist.
Great line.
It was so brilliant. And I thought anyone who's watched any of those debates saw a smart, charismatic leader that is ready to take their state into the next phase, And I think when we look at that race in Florida and we look at the Senate race in Texas, and we see someone like Beto and someone like Gillum in Florida, these two super progressive candidates, I'm hopeful that we're feeling a shift in the country. Because if those two candidates can find that kind of success in those states, what does that mean for the rest of the country?
Thank God.
Right?
Yeah, states where it might not be as difficult. Like Beto is up against it. That's still a very Republican state.
Yep.
His fundraising totals definitely gave me a lot of hope. The fact that he was able to raise $38 million, I think it was.
Taking no super PAC money, no special interest groups, all independent donations. He's running that campaign out of the front seat of his minivan.
Yeah.
And he was on 60 Minutes last night, and they were like, "What? Do you think that's a good idea?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do actually."
Seems to be working.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get back to fun.
Yeah.
But I think, again, the fact that these two progressive leaders can even come close in these states is a real defining moment for the country.
And I really hope, so I just mentioned that I was given some hope by his fundraising totals, especially under the self-imposed conditions that you mentioned, which we support here at TYT. I hope that for other candidates, maybe even people who aren't thinking of running yet, like this shows that it can work.
That you can do it.
It can't work in a vacuum. You have to actually have the platform and the stance and the values which he's expressed in a number of videos and things like that. But if you have that, you do not need ExxonMobil and you don't need the pharma companies, you don't need the banks.
You don't need the NRA.
Exactly. You can raise more money than you need off of the backs of regular people who want to support your campaign if you give them something to support, and he has been doing that, thankfully.
That's exactly right.
I am going to be watching that race so closely, and if he doesn't win, it's going to be pretty devastating.
No, but you know what? We have to look at it optimistically, because not only did they come so close in very red states, but just the fact that they came so close, I think means those states are purple. And also, now we have areas in these states that Democrats never went into before.
He went everywhere.
He went everywhere, and Democrats just wouldn't, the same thing with Stacey Abrams in Georgia. She went into places in Georgia that a Democrat had never stepped foot in because they were defeatist. And she said, nope, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna sit across from people, I'm gonna ask them what their problems are, and I'm gonna find solutions. And I think all of these races where we're seeing these leaders really come forward have owned the ground game. And that's what it's all about. I've been doing, campaigning for candidates for 20 years, and if you can own the ground game, you will win your election.
And it's tough, but thankfully we've got a lot of people who are really doing it.
Yep.
I just want to briefly mention one other candidate. We haven't talked a lot about many of the House districts. There's one that I'm kind of personally invested in, Amar Kapanejar in California's 50th district.
Thank you for being invested in that.
He's a great guy.
He's a great guy, and that he could not be up against a more not great guy.
So the only thing that when we talked about that racist ad, the cop killer ad, the only thing that made me think that it might not be the most racist ad ever is because the ad that Duncan Hunter ran against Amar Kapanejar might be more racist actually, and you're seeing a little bit of it there. The insane conspiracy theorizing and Islamophobia, calling it blatant racism isn't enough. There should be a stronger word against one of the most reasonable and level-headed
and smart,
qualified guys. He's smart.
So smart.
He's worked in government already.
He worked
what are you
for
talking
Obama.
about with the Muslim Brotherhood? And if the 50th district, which so I went with him to the border back when there was that renewed push for the border wall, and we talked right at the border wall. And if that district comes out and supports him over Duncan Hunter, that will really mean something about this Islamophobic message coming from the Republican Party.
Well, ask me where I'm going to be at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning when the polls open. I'm going to be driving people in District 50 for Amar.
Thank you. He will need it. It's tough. It's a very red district, but hopefully he can pull it out. Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.